had a whole discussion with my therapist this morning, and some wonderfully revealing things came out of that. So, I find it really important to not have unnecessary secrets going on, as you know, because the more clear situations and relationships can be, the more I understand like what I'm basing my expectations on, right? So for a lot of people, I think that which have a lot of childhood trauma, where you're not able to um, predict people's behavior, there's a lot of like thought energy going into trying to anticipate, especially like the more dangerous the atmosphere was, or the less power that you have or control that you have over any situation. I know that people like to say like, you shouldn't want to control situations. Yeah, you should. Not obviously in all situations it's not appropriate, but um, children and people do need consistency. Like, it can't be crazy all the time, because then you're like in a state of fear all the time, because like what's going to happen, especially when you're a child. Obviously you are relying on the situation and on the people around you. So yeah, I have developed um, very extensive skill sets of how to interpret things around me and think about them and put everything into systems. Um, all right, anyway, but yeah, with my therapist, we were talking about how for children that become adults and didn't have the ability to have consistency in their caregivers, or have a lot of danger whereby they like don't even develop their capacity for social behavior. Yeah, I have for like 10, 12, 14 years talked about the Stockholm syndrome, which is when I will just explain it in my own words, the way I see it and the way I've experienced it, is not being able to hold the own truth and the own identity, because there is someone that you're having to deal with that is so dangerous, or perceived as so dangerous, that that you or I, this of course this happened to me, so that I have to capsize and give away whatever truth that I have, and just agree with the most dangerous person in the room. And in this case, then in the first experience that I had, that was my one parent, who was very violent and in many ways not attentive to my needs as a growing child, for safety, for yeah, safety. Let's just leave it at that. And then my other parent later on, not having, like, they didn't have good perception of what a child needs, and didn't perceive that I, as a 4-year-old, started parenting my parents because I just had to get with the plan, get with the plan, so that I can survive and start controlling the people around me, so that we're all gonna make it through it. And the only way that I am gonna make it through my youth is by my caretakers getting through the years. So this was just my perspective from the child that I was. So you can kind of understand that it's a situation in which I'm not actually developing who I really am, because I'm having to give up parts of my personality in order to stay safe. And that can be a whole like range of different things. Different people have it in different ways, and will develop different skill sets and characteristics that then become your person. Like it becomes your identity. Like um, I am identified as a person who is very cheerful and pleasing, and yeah, if you see me interact with certain people, you'll see that I can basically pacify them and keep them happy. And yeah, I can really feel into other people, give them a sense of like everything's okay, you're great. And that is, yeah, it's a great skill set to have. I really, it's probably just part of my character as well, um, not only something that I learned to survive, but of course codependency. There, I'm getting to the things that are all about that there are all these puzzle pieces that in the character, in my identity, that were about specifically surviving. So, and those is what I'm showing you on this journey, how I'm, how I'm changing that, and which ones don't serve me at all, and that I hope that you get inspiration from, and understand that you're an okay person. See, I'm doing it in this channel as well. Like, guys, you're okay. Just start working on yourself, because it doesn't serve you to be codependent. To be interdependent, now that's a different story, and I'm gonna be learning that on this journey. In fact, I did learn a little bit of that today. It's the kind of things, like a thing will happen, a situation will happen, and you'll be like, ugh, I just want to run away. I just want to be, it's so uncomfortable. I want to switch off. I want to check out. And yeah, I was angry about a situation, and then I realized I started getting into it, and I wanted to run away from my friends. And then my therapist reminded me that I might be disappointed in the way that things are going, because they don't actually know what's going on for me, or they might not be conscious really about it. And then, yeah, and she told me, like, please, like, she didn't say it like this, but I went ahead and communicated to my friends in a very weird way, but in the one way that I could. I sent a voice message, and and I got into the so like awkward process of just trying to be in the moment and trying to give people some space to also react, and just told them my emotions about what had been going on, and my disappointment, and yeah, that I was kind of hurting, and that I realized that they might not know that I'm hurting. So yeah, that was really nice. I thought I had been a little bit emotionally manipulative, like in my brain that was happening, and that's a coping mechanism. That's like a mechanism that's coming from trauma. That's like, you're not allowed to be manipulative. And it's like, whoa, I did my best, and then I learned when I listened to the voice message that I had sent. It was like I thought that I was crying while I sent the message, and I was, but it sounded so like Capricorn, like daddy, like it wasn't even. I thought that if I listened back to the voice message, and I was cringing to listen back to it, but I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna listen to it. It's probably just gonna make me half faint from like, ugh. But then when I listened back to it, it was actually, I was surprised how robotic and and like monotonous dude my voice was. Such is life. Mine. But that's the thing, like I had to do that sidestep, as I had these emotions of like, I'm just gonna leave the ship, I'm just gonna leave my friends, I'm gonna, I'm just gonna, yeah. My therapist said, don't erase your name from the friend group. that would be such a pity. It's like, yeah, I see that. So I couldn't only listen to my emotions about it, and um, yeah, I had to go in and experience what it's like, because even if I would leave this friends relationships, still gotta learn, still gotta find out what it is to actually try to connect to people and give people the chance before, like, yeah, I can have my emotions, but then I also got to remember that that my therapist was saying disappointment usually comes from having expectations around something, and you need to check um, whether your expectations were realistic and if people could actually live up to the things that you're expecting. Or talk to someone and they will probably point out to you, yeah, I don't think they got that. So, feeling proud of myself. So I'm gonna get back to the story that about um, Stockholm syndrome. So I have the distinct and acute and visceral feeling of how Stockholm syndrome really describes how I was growing up, and I only started to know this after I understood what Stockholm syndrome is, um, and how I had been just my whole character was based around catering to other people that I was growing up with, and manipulating them and making them feel safe in order for me to feel safe. So that actually doesn't give you the opportunity to grow your identity, meaning to find out who you are. Yay, who am I? And I was having an astrology meeting, and yeah, this wonderful person was explaining about astrology, and that our whole takeaway about astrology and looking at personality systems is happiness comes from being able to live the fullness of who you are. And this is not something cliche. Can you imagine if you're, let's say, I don't know how to say that, but like you have like certain talents, you have certain things about you that are specific to you. And when you're like codependent, as in the way that I was just describing, or stuck in some Stockholm syndrome, then you're not actually developing who you actually are. And so you're always living in this kind of fake world, this, and the older you get, this has been my experience, and I hope that I'm gonna touch some of your perception of how your life is, and hopefully like just like tickle some of these energies that you might have been feeling, that when you live for what someone else or some system is telling you to be, then there is this emptiness that happens and this sense of unfulfillment. And what if we say that happiness is being able to fulfill who you are as a being? And I know that still sounds cliche, so I'm gonna get a little more into it. So, your body, your being is made to be excellent at certain things. It's like you're this puzzle piece that fits incredibly into this like social structure, that if everyone was doing that, you would be like vibing at the highest level. You would be so happy because like whatever you would do and feel and think and do and act would create positive consequences for other people that you can see, or maybe you don't see, I don't know. But can you imagine that level of satisfaction of like, I caused that. Yeah, you did, because you're made for it. Like, when you look at people who are just like achieving and living their dreams, and like it's it's often got to do with them like expanding something that they're good at, something that makes them a genius that someone else could never have done. Or maybe, I don't know, whatever, competition is a thing. But when you're being you, you're never competing because no one else can do it as well as you. So that's my thing about competition. But competition also makes us stronger. It helps us to like see who we can be. But I digress. So it's like you're this instrument. But if you use this instrument for the wrong activity, it's like, of course, you're gonna think that this instrument there's something wrong with it. Why is it not doing what I want? Why is it when I look over there, those people are thriving and their instruments work perfectly fine? And why is my instrument not working? And yeah, you get like unhappy about your body, about your skills, about you get insecure. All of these things should give you like ding, ding, ding alarm bells. Yeah, like the saying, like, don't judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. She's not supposed to climb a tree. She's supposed to swim in the water. So if you put a you in the wrong environment or have the wrong idea about what a you should be able to do, then it's gonna give you all of this stress. But if you understand who a you is specifically, and go on this wild adventure of knowing who you are, to know thyself, imagine the happiness that you're like, oh my God, I do this thing and then this thing, other thing happens and I'm like growing naturally and it's like, oh, I'm killing it. You're living it, aliving it. All right, anyway. You know what I mean? So, that's why I use all these systems. That's why I now understand, like, whoa, of course I'm gonna be trying to find out who the F am I? And yeah, I have the North Node in the first house, meaning, and I'm a 1-3 profile, and all these things point to me being super egotistical and being like, who's a me? What is a me? What is a me? Are you, oh, I recognize a me, you know, some part of me. So, but yeah. It is supposed to be something that I can express to other people, all of this information, and make you enthusiastic about and hopeful about who you are, and that there is something specific that you're supposed to be being in this whole thing that we're in. Okay, now for the thing that I realized about Stockholm syndrome. And I was talking with my therapist and she was saying how that you go through these steps of realizing your identity by having caretakers and having the environment around you reflect to you back in healthy, in safe ways what you're putting out. And I actually had to talk myself into like sending my friends that message, because I felt like I was probably expressing some grievances that weren't really fair, because I was being disappointed about something that I haven't really given them the chance to even know what was going on for me. And I had to realize that, yeah, but it's okay for me to have these emotions. And I actually grew up around people that when I expressed my emotions, they would just, what they reflected back to me was a lot of negativity, or like telling me I was a wrong kind of person, or that, like, yeah, I have all these ways in which I was reflected back that made me so sad and feel like I probably shouldn't tell people my feelings. So that then inhibits my growth and doesn't, that kind of silence and trapping emotions inside, it inhibits growth, and it stops me from knowing who I am really. And I now know myself to be courageous, uh, profoundly optimistic, if I'm not trapping my emotions. As soon as I talk and start to express myself, I feel free, I feel fine. I feel so hopeful as soon as a process is allowed to happen. And you might also know this in your life, like when people say, but yeah, we can't, that are sort of refusing to open up about their vulnerable side or their emotions, even though you've created a safe space for them. And they'll say like, yeah, but it's not going to solve anything if I talk about my emotions. It's like, we live in the process of emotions. It's showing you who you are. You're not gonna know really what's really going on if you withhold emotions. And other people, the world can actually not change. Like the fiber of reality doesn't change with your mind. It changes with your soul, your emotions, your expression. And then suddenly someone else sees something and they're able to be in a different way, instead of being static in one thought. And it's a blessing to have people around you who are able to be in a fresh moment every time with you, and responsive to your emotions. And so, yeah, it's like I'm growing through my one of my friends just called me right after and was like, I heard you, I needed to call you. Didn't just one thing just change my um yeah, my trust in people. And the idea that if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have given that opportunity to know my friend. All right, so then my therapist and I talked about how, actually, since a lot of us haven't really been able to completely formulate, take form, structure our identity, that in fact we really don't have yet a formalized identity. And so it is quite literally not possible for you to know yourself if you've not been able to, yeah, have that interaction, be yourself in interactions. And I want to tell you, you will feel so much more whole when you get reflections from other people like, oh, I see you. I see you are doing. Sometimes they actually have to tell you, like, I see that you're sad, or I understand that you're angry. I totally get that, or disappointed. Like to track your, like what you're showing. Sometimes that really helps. I'm just saying that as a little bit of a tip in between. um, yeah, and that maybe there's another part of this codependency story that is not only about having specific my past, this Stockholm syndrome happening, but because of the like not safe environment, whether it's physically or emotionally, because that's also super important, right? that that it could also, the codependency could also be coming from our identity not having been formalized yet, and therefore we're seeking validation from others naturally, like that's our biology to do that. And that it's natural that we might get into codependent relationships or situations just as a normal form of living, just because we're not out of that growth phase. And you don't get out of the growth phase. You don't get to learn your identity, like I said, if the doors weren't open for that growth to happen. So, I hope you're feeling like I just told you something, if that refers to you, that you're now not afraid of the fact that maybe, it's just a theory, it's my perspective, that maybe the identity of you or someone else that you recognize, and in any case for me, my identity is not formed completely. Such just a kid in many ways. But that's okay, really. And the fact that you're watching this or you're willing to even consider this is already a step. And you never have to be any place else than where you're at. And knowing where you're at doesn't make it worse. Maybe you'll have to move through some emotions about it, but it's better to know, because then you can access your power, then you can access how you want to grow, and find yourself some nice people around. All right. I send you blessings. Thank you for watching. Bye. See you next time.